Let's go on tour with David Roberts, a painter who visited Egypt just under 200 years ago. So a lot of things have changed since then. Let's have a look. Let's start right up in Alexandria, shall we? This is a picture of one of Cleopatra's needles, or so it's called. I don't know which one it is, but today one is in London and the other is in New York. The next most amazing thing from Alexandria is called the Pompeii Pillar, or the Pillar of Pompeii, and it's located around on the Serapeum in Alexandria. And it doesn't look terribly impressive in the pictures, but when you actually go and see it, it is unbelievably gigantic. Now let's look at another obelisk. So we've had obelisk, then we've had pillar, now we've got another obelisk. And this is the obelisk of Heliopolis, which is now somewhere in Cairo. I didn't manage to find it when I was there, but apparently it's pretty impressive. And as you can see from the picture, there are the pyramids across on the right in the distance. So it's clearly Cairo. And here's a lot more pictures of Giza and the pyramids, including the Sphinx there. It's really interesting seeing what Giza and especially Cairo looked like before all the buildings suddenly sprouted up. Now this one is also pyramids, but it's Saqqara, and it's sort of looking at Saqqara in the distance. Now let's move down the Nile a bit to Beni Hassan, and then on we go down to Dendera. Dendera is amazing, and of course the main attraction at Dendera is the Temple of Hathor. Continuing along the Nile to Deir el Medina and the Valley of the Kings, before we head along to the Memnonium, which is now known as the Ramesseum, both of which are tongue twisters. But it's got this massive statue just laying there in pieces. And then it's also right next to the Colossi of Memnon. So it's quite an impressive place. And these paintings are incredibly accurate. And now we will move across to the other side of the Nile to visit Luxor and Karnak. These paintings make it clear just how much amazing work the archaeologists have done in restoring these sites, because all the sand has gone, a lot of the fallen blocks are in place, and it's just a big difference between then and now. If anyone thinks it's a good idea to do before and after photos, well, picture, painting versus photo, let me know in the comments, and I'll do my best to match up photos with these paintings. Let's continue down the Nile to Esna. When I saw this painting, I thought, I don't remember seeing any stairs at Esna, and then I realized that the sand must have been so high up that they had to, when they cleared out the inside, they had to put stairs to get down to the actual temple. So those stairs aren't there now. Continuing on down the Nile to Edfu, which also seems to be very heavily covered in sand. Edfu was one of the newer temples, so it was in better condition, and you can see that really clearly here because it's quite complete, just covered in a lot of sand. Now down further to Kom Ombo, and it doesn't look as if there's a lot to see in these paintings, but today Kom Ombo is a significant site to visit. Now let's keep going down the Nile to the island of Philae. And of course this is long before everything had to be moved off the island in order to save the structures from the Aswan Dam. So this is how they looked when they were in situ. And next to that island is the island of Biggar, which overlooked the island of Philae. Wadi al-Sabur is something you may recognize from one of my other episodes, because I did a whole episode on that one. And the Debod Temple, which is now located in Spain, and the Temple of Tafe, which is located in the Netherlands. There's the Temple of Dendur, now in New York. You may be wondering why all these temples were moved overseas. It was part of the preservation program that occurred when the Aswan Dam was going to cover up so many of these priceless sites. And this one, of course, being one of the most well-known, is Abu Simbel. And there's a few more on the painting list, which I'm not very familiar with, like the Temple of Calabash. And as we end our tour with the artist David Roberts, you may wonder what happened to him after he returned from Egypt. Well, he was very successful in his time, and his work fascinated Queen Victoria, and she became one of his greatest fans. In fact, she commissioned him to paint the inauguration of the exhibition of 1851, which was the Great Exhibition in the Crystal Palace. So I think it's safe to say that following on from Egypt, he was a very successful painter.